Hey everyone, Matt here with Duke's Models, and I'm in the process of working on Italeri's very nice, very large 132nd F-104. Getting really close to being able to close up the fuselage. Have had to do a lot of work to get to this point. You know, the whole cockpit area has to be pretty much in there, and I've already got that glued in to one side. I've been doing some work here, as you can see, on the intakes and the shock cones. These are not glued in yet, so I'm going to remove it so it's not bouncing off the floor on me. Been getting the exhaust all painted up. It's tough to really see the all-clad steel color in just natural camera light, but it's a nice dark metallic. Something that is missing in this, right in here, the main gear bay. So this gear bay is quite a hefty assembly, and it does a whole bunch. It locates up in the front and helps form support for the fuselage itself. It also locates right aft of the bay. It has notches for the wing tabs, so it helps provide location. Not enough location, so I've already gone ahead and glued the wings before joining the fuselage halves, which is something I typically never do. But I need to get that gear bay installed, and a fun, challenging aspect of that is the way it's designed. So, pardon the currently rough nature of this gear bay. I'm planning to go in and do more detail work on it once it's installed. As you can see, though, it's got these nice thick main gear legs. They are one piece, and they kind of fit in here. I'll show you in a second. Then this truss goes on top, the two trapping pieces on either side. It forms a nice actual assembly here, which makes it easy to install. One of the challenges, though, is once you get it on its legs, these gear struts have a lot of play, way more than I would like. Side to side, front to back, they're kind of all over the place. Challenge with this is I need a way to glue these things down so that they have strength and that they hold on to the right alignment, so that F-104 is not all wonky and off on one side. But I need something that will take enough time to where I can get these things glued, get this thing reassembled, get it in here, get this thing tape fitted, and then get it back onto its legs so it can cure. Super glue won't cut it. Solvent welder won't cut it. PVA glue, where the hell did it go? Of the Gator's Grip variety, would give me that time, but it would not give me that strength. This stuff is great at a lot of things. It's not great at structural strength. So, how am I going to get this sorted? I am going to bust out probably my least favorite glue to work with, because it smells like absolute ass, and it's disgusting to work with, but in this kind of a situation, it's actually quite effective. 15-minute epoxy. A two-part epoxy, mix it together in a little cup. Try not to breathe it because it's awful. Get some on the strut, get the strut in there, get everything slapped together, get it into the fuselage as fast as possible. I have about 15 minutes to work with this stuff, functionally less. Fortunately, in my obsession with getting this F-104 aligned properly, I have test fit it probably a good 30 times by now. So I have the sandwiching stuff pretty much committed to muscle memory at this point. So without further ado, we are going to do some epoxying and we're going to do some test fitting. So here we go. First thing first is going to be to untape it, but in a way that we leave the tape in place so it's ready to go back on quickly. We've got two halves. Set those within easy reach, so when we need to go, we can go very quickly. So this main landing gear setup comes apart very easily. Just pull this end off, pull this end off, Need to be sure to get the cabling a little bit out of the way here. It's lead wire, so it bends very easily. All right, so those guys can have fun over there. Now, this little truss piece just lifts off, and then poof, out comes the main gear strut. And now it is time to mix up our epoxy. It's my weapon of choice, considering I don't really need all that much, is a tattoo ink cup. You can get these off eBay, like a billion of them for $5. The way this works is you take your little cup, you do the Heinz 57 thing with this. You gotta, good things come to those who wait. In this case, things that smell like ass come to those who wait. So, don't know if you can see the bottle here, but there's like the lava lamp style bubbles that these things do. Again, I don't need much of this at all. No sense in wasting it. So, one nice drop. Put the lid back on this bad boy. So, that's part one. Part two is the hardener. This is stuff that really stinks, especially once it starts reacting. So, again, we get to do the lava lamp thing here and wait for it. I think I need to download some elevator music for the video production. How to mix it? Toothpick. So, toothpick, cup, stir, 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 stir. Alright, so I'm going to say that we are nice and mixed, and because this thing is all clogged up now, I am going to grab another toothpick, because basically, well, they are disposable. What am I talking about? Get myself a toothpick, and I am going to load this up. Now, this epoxy tends to be very prone to stringing out, so you gotta be careful with that. So I put a little bit right there. Get that in place. I'm gonna put a little bit on these things because they plug in. They need their strength too. Not a time to be butterfingers. Now what I'm going to do, this guy into the party. That guy on there like that. Alright, so we got this guy happy. Remove this guy. Now, to the F-104. so got it in there. We're gonna set this on its feet, and I'm gonna use I needed a square thing, so I'm gonna use a USB hub. Seems like a nice, about the right height that I need. I'm just checking the alignment here. Make sure it's sitting in the brackets like so. And so that is how it's looking for now. I'm going to pause here and I'm going to swing the camera around so you can see it from a better angle. So the really nice little mounting arm I've got here has a problem. When I try to swing it too much, it runs into the paint racks. So we're handheld, rocking it old school for a moment, just to show you what's going on down here. So if we... Come on, camera. You can see in there, we got those arms mounted right up into the brackets. Central truss looks solid. It's gonna be tough to get the best angle on this, make sure it's level. You can see though, it's what we're going for here. Now it's a matter of letting this bad boy cure. So, mission accomplished. The epoxy was epoxied, the gear bay was assembled, the F104 was put together, and now it just gets to sit on the bench for a little bit and cure its own little ass off until the landing gear is nice and secure in there and the epoxy has had time to set. It's 15-minute epoxy, but it does take longer than that to fully cure. So it'll get to that point where it's nice and solid for a while. Let's see what it says here. It sets in 15 minutes, can be handled in 45 minutes, and it's got a full bond and full strength in 3 hours. But at which point I will be asleep. So this thing is going to sit here until tomorrow, and I'm going to have to figure out something else to do with my time tonight. Anyway, epoxy is not my favorite thing in the world, but for one of these type of situations where there's a complicated assembly process and alignment and things like you need time to shift and move stuff, it really works pretty well and it's worth considering. I've used it a couple of times on landing gear in the past, especially ones where it's got a firm-ish connection. You know, it's not the kind where it's like if you set the aircraft on the bench, it's just going to sort of wobble and fall on its own. You know, like the HK-B25 has these massive main gear struts, and they slot pretty well into the engine nacelles, into those big main gear bays under the engines. But they have just a little bit of play, and that little bit of play is enough that it can, you know, you can have the B25 leaning. And so when I was doing those, it was a similar situation of get everything epoxied, set it down, manually adjust it, and then just hands off for a while. Just walk away and let it set. And those things were rock solid. So, for something like this F104 where you've got that complicated build piece and you still need to maximize your ability to align things, it works really well. It's definitely a limited purpose adhesive. I wouldn't ever recommend doing something like joining a fuselage with this stuff because, I mean, it is just, you know, it is worse than stretch sprue almost in terms of how much it strings out. It is just a total mess. Now it's on my fingers. I mean, you know, it gets gelatinous like that. and then you cannot get it off anything, and I'm going to have to put turpentine or something on my fingers now. But again, for the right purposes, it is useful, and it's something that I think every modeler should probably have somewhere around their bench for applications like this. But yeah, just be aware of the fact that it strings out like crazy and it smells like ass. Treat it with respect, and that's all there is to it. Hopefully I'll be back soon with some fun videos about actually painting this damn F104 as opposed to slowly but surely getting it built. So that's it. Check you later. So a lot of times I should be at the bench, and you know what I'm doing instead? Fucking around on my phone. A lot of times I work at building on the bench, and that is just the worst assemblage of words that I could possibly imagine. Oh look, new comments. Move some of this shit around so I can actually do stuff without dropping things everywhere. But we're finally almost... Fuck this. Stop jiggling. Stop. Stop.